everything that we spoke about, the awareness, the plans, the tools of this world requires you to have an awareness. I'm not trying to make you guys tax expert or attorneys. That's a different profession, but I'm trying to instill some element of discipline to say, I need to be aware. I need to speak to so-called individuals who specialize within this so that I can better preserve my wealth. You need to be aware that on a regular basis, you need to review your wealth preservation plan. Is it still aligned? And this is why I always ask a simple question, right? I asked Ndumiso earlier on and say, when you get an email, and I put it to you, all of you guys who are here, when you get an email coming from SARS with attachment, how do you feel? Most of us get anxiety. You know, most of us are scared and say, what now? And so the question is why it has to be the case. Because in most cases, that anxiety is because we don't understand the tax system. We don't understand the function. Earlier on, someone spoke about how they find tax to be this animal, right? Just to paraphrase them. The reality is that, do we actually ask yourself why we've got this anxiety, right? Do you ever ask yourself, if I get an SMS from SARS says I'm going for audit, why do I need to be anxious, right? So my thing is, let's work on removing that anxiety so that we're empowered enough. When you get a communication to SARS, oh, I know my rights based on Tax Administration Act. As a taxpayer, I know how I'm going to deal with this. Pick up a call, Shilly boy, just got an SMS from SARS. Listen, let's have a conversation. I know my rights based on TAA, right? The reality is that then we sit down and say, but what are they looking for? Then if it requires objection, Tax Administration Act empowers us to immediately object and go through the processes nicely because we're doing what? The right thing, because we understand. You are aware. You don't have to be an expert. Leave that to some of us and be the expert in the field, but at least be aware so that you can manage anxiety. As soon as you get such kind of conversation, then you are able to actually dealing with it. So now, as Ndumiso said earlier, there's quite a lot of series or how do I put it? We're going to compartment a lot of phases. So this might sound basic for those who are already sitting on 10 properties and implemented things, the Edgars of this world. But it's always crucial to revisit the principles. That's why the Titanic of this world sinked, because when you forget the principles, that's where most of the time you get into. So let's revisit the principles. As much as you might have heard me speaking about some of these principles, let's revisit them, and then we're going to build up from there. Next time when I start quoting the tax planning for property developers, at least we know that the foundation and the fundamental principles are in place. Hence, I said to the other gentleman in Zuzu, say, listen, go on a journey with me. If you get a blessing from Ndumiso, you're more than welcome to come to intergen. The reality is that then we put the principles so that tomorrow when I say, go to section 18D and then do the tax plan or go and buy that particular property on a going concern so that you can do a cash flow planning. You even understand because you've got structures in place. Because it's pointless for me to talk to you about going concern tax planning principles when you don't even have structures. How is that going to be applicable to you? Okay, now you don't have to feel be attacked, but the reality is that now let's move as an aspiring property investor. I'm using loosely the word aspiring, mainly because I want to show you the basic principle, but does not mean I degrade you guys to a certain level. This could be you, or all of us actually fall within this, right? You might be having several persons, like I said, you might be a doctor, you might be a lawyer, engineer, or for that matter, you might be a marketing expert out there. Or for that matter, you are one of those who owning properties with joint partners. I saw there was one of the famous banks actually proposed some sort of a financial product where you can do a joint ownership. What does it even mean? It's good, because they're focusing on wealth creating, they focus on helping you creating wealth. But like, what does it mean? What are the risks for that? That's an indicator to me. Once you come to me and say, Shilly boy, I'm partnering with me, so we are 10 of us, we're going to take advantage of that product with that particular bank. And then as a result, then we're going to make sure that we buy more properties jointly. I'm going to ask you, are you aware of your risk? Or you're excited about going journey of creating intergenerational wealth? And then you say, no, I'm going to creating intergenerational wealth. I'm like, okay, what does it even mean to say you are creating intergenerational wealth? Anyway, so that's for you to think about. So you might be having existing assets in your wealth. Some of you guys already are advanced property investors, and I know that. You've got children, minor, I know. Do you're going to fetch that little daughter of yours, and you love her dearly. But do you understand, if you're to leave this wealth that you're creating right now, God forbid, you're to pass on, right? What does it even mean? Yeah? Do you know what are the consequences? Abu Malumi are potentially not going to come and take the wealth, and then your daughter is suffering because what? You don't have a wealth preservation plan in place. So these are awareness that I'm going to try to instill, and as a discipline that we're going to have to go on a journey in the next 12 months, potentially even beyond that. You might be married in community of property. There's nothing wrong with that. You just need to be aware of your risk and put safeguards. When I used to be an auditor in one of the famous auditing firms, they used to say identification of risk and then safeguards of those risks, because risk will always be there. So as this being married in community property to me is an indicator to say what could potentially go wrong. So I'll ask that, what could potentially go wrong? So if you don't have a will right now, you know, majority of South Africans don't have wills. What does it even mean? Without what could go wrong? So if you guys don't have a will right now, ask yourself what could go wrong. I put it to you. So you've got unadopted stepchildren. I've got a case that I'm going to share with you later on, if you can have time. And geez, I've been speaking, and yeah, so where that could potentially go wrong if you do not officially adopt your children.